Broadcom reports an inline quarter, boosts its dividend by 11%, and raises guidance. Stock up more than 7%. Stephanie, do you want to sell into this rally?
Well, I mean, for the near term, it's a big move for one day, but I think the long-term trends are still very powerful. Just wouldn't start a new position here, maybe wait for a red day, but I think the long-term secular trends and where they're exposed in terms of the wireless markets is very powerful.
And where would you be looking to buy if we do get that big pullback day?
Yeah, I mean, I think the low 30s, certainly under 35, it could get there in a minute. It's a very volatile stock, but even up here at these levels, the stock is still trading at about 11.5 times X cash. That's very cheap for a company that's going to grow something like 15% long term over the next couple of years.
And where is that growth going to come from? Is it going to come from its mobile wireless business in particularly? And when do we reach the top of that growth?
Oh, I think you have years to go, right? Because I do think that they have, not only do they have the Apple exposure, we've talked about that endlessly, it's about 13% of their total revenues, but they also have other very strong customers that are also upgrading new products like Samsung and Nokia. And I thought it was interesting that, so yes, you want to own it for the wireless exposure, that's about 50% of their revenues, right? But I thought it was interesting that their infrastructure business, the networking business, they actually are seeing better growth from the Chinese service providers. And I thought that was a very big surprise and a very big tell, especially when we're hearing from other companies like Juniper having a real struggle with some of the domestic carriers.
And you brought up China because I was going to ask what the biggest risk is, but listening to the CEO on Bloomberg last night, he said that growth in China was really strong. So where is the biggest risk?
Yeah, and it's interesting, not only did he say it was really strong, but he also said that the first quarter wasn't as seasonal as they had expected. What's the risk? I mean, the risk certainly is that, demand falls off, right? But I think that we do still continue to see strong demand at their end customers. And that's why I always look to see who they have exposure to. And they have exposure to some of the strongest companies out there.
Now, the CEO also mentioned that Broadcom had been seeing market share growth. Is that then a green light to then sell, say, Intel, Advanced Micro Devices, Qualcomm, Texas Instruments? Is that your big takeaway here?
My takeaway is that Broadcom has the products, the superior products relative to its peers. I think you could probably say that Qualcomm is still pretty exciting, and Texas Instruments is really a margin improvement story with National Semi as they bought that company, and I think that there's leverage there. So those companies have certainly reasons to be excited about. I just prefer Broadcom because it has lagged the group, and it also trades at a substantial a 25% discount to the group, a 15% discount to the group, and a 25% discount to its long-term historical range. So I think that you want to find product cycle stories in tech, and that's why we've chosen this one.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. So Broadcom, it definitely still is the growth story you're going to want to bet into, but wait for a pullback to buy.